Cinematic, tense, immediate action. Present-day setting in the U.S. The sky is an unsettling mix of dark blues and grays, like a charcoal sketch that someone left in the rain. Wind rattles the tall oak in Brandon's front yard, scattering a few dry leaves across the driveway. It's late afternoon, too early for the house lights to glow so brightly, yet there they are, shining through half-drawn blinds. Serena stands by the wrought iron gate, heart pounding in her chest. She knows she shouldn't be here. She should be at home, maybe checking her email or planning dinner with her husband, Damien. But instead, she's pushing open Brandon's gate with trembling fingers. The metallic screech reminds her that every sound now feels amplified, every step a possible betrayal of her marriage. Inside the house, the walls echo with muffled audio from a sports channel, something about a big football event coming soon. Serena can't quite focus on the TV. She's more concerned about her clammy palms and the knot forming in her stomach. She slips off her shoes at the entryway. Brandon has always been picky about footprints on his polished floor. The living room is dim, lit only by the flicker of the oversized television. Brandon stands across the room, leaning on the back of his couch. He's wearing sweatpants and a slightly rumpled t-shirt, his hair still damp from a recent shower. He looks both smug and uncertain, as if he's been waiting for Serena but can't decide whether to smirk or apologize. "Close the door," Brandon murmurs, eyes fixed on her. His voice is steady, but a drop of sweat trickles down his temple. Serena shuts it gently. The latch clicks like a gun's hammer pulling back. God, why am I so jumpy? She mentally scolds herself, trying to find a shred of courage she might have had before walking in. She swallows hard. "Are you sure we can talk here?" she whispers. "Damien! He left the house not long ago. She's interrupted by a sharp knock at the front door. The sound ricochets through her mind. Brandon's eyes widen. Serena's breath hitches in her throat. No way. That can't be Brandon. You home? The voice is faint but unmistakable. It's Damien. Blood rushes from Serena's face. She and Brandon exchange a panicked glance. If Brandon's house had a secret trapdoor, she'd have jumped through it in a second. The only option is to hide behind the thick drapes near the window, but even that feels painfully obvious. "Just a second," Brandon calls, clearing his throat. He mouths at Serena, "Stay still." Then he strides to the door, each footstep an accusation. Through the narrow gap in the curtains, Serena can see a portion of her husband's legs and shoes, familiar navy sneakers. His stance is uneasy. He shifts weight from one foot to the other, as though he senses something's off. "Damien," Brandon greets him, forcing a laid-back tone. "What brings you here?" "I was, on my way to pick up some car parts," Damien replies. "Saw your lights on. Thought I'd say hi." A short silence follows, heavy with unspoken tension. Inside, Serena presses herself against the wall, praying that her frantic heartbeat isn't audible from outside. Her mind rushes through excuses if Damien steps in. "I was just returning something Brandon borrowed? I needed advice about a surprise for Damien?" Damien's voice cuts the air again. "Brandon, everything okay?" He sounds skeptical. "You seem jumpy." Serena peeks through a tiny split in the curtain. Damien's eyes flick over Brandon's shoulder, scanning the living room with precision. Then, for a split second, his gaze meets Serena's. Even though she's partially hidden, she can't shake the chill that runs up her spine. He sees me. Oh God, he sees me. Damien's expression twists confusion, anger, hurt. It's almost as if in that single glance, he's read an entire book of betrayal. Serena staggers backward, and the curtain shifts just enough to give her away. In the threshold, Damien calls out, "Serena?" His tone isn't loud, but it trembles with something raw. Heartbreak or rage, maybe both. Brandon exhales sharply. "Damien, hold on, this isn't—" But he can't finish. Serena stumbles forward, no hiding now. "Damien," she says hoarsely, her face burning with shame. For a fleeting moment, no one breathes. The TV's background commentary babbles about the next championship game, oblivious to the real drama unfolding. The overhead lights cast harsh shadows on the three of them, as if caught in a spotlight on stage. Serena's mouth is dry, words refusing to form. Brandon remains stone still. Damien's lips tighten, his hands clenched at his sides. Every heartbeat crashes like a drum, and the storm outside mirrors the sudden downpour of panic. Why are you here? Damien's question is barely louder than a whisper, but it strikes Serena with the force of a thunderclap. She can't answer. She opens her mouth, then shuts it again. The only sound is the rumble of thunder somewhere beyond the living room window, switching to a less overtly cinematic style, but still detail-focused and character-driven. Takes place a few weeks before the dramatic encounter. Sunlight pours through the windows of a modest suburban house, the place Serena and Damien call home. The neighborhood is a classic American backdrop. Neat lawns, kids riding bikes, mailboxes lining the curb. It's the sort of place where neighbors wave hello without ever really knowing each other's secrets. Serena stands in the kitchen, scrolling through a fashion website on her phone. Her reflection in the shiny countertop shows a woman who's outwardly serene, with neatly brushed hair and a carefully chosen blouse. Beneath that polished appearance, though, she's restless. She flicks her gaze to the living room where Damien sits on the couch, flipping through a car magazine. He's wearing a dark red flannel, sleeves rolled up to the elbows. There's an excited glimmer in his eyes whenever he reads about the newest muscle cars, classic Mustangs, tricked-out Camaros, the monstrous horsepower of a Dodge Challenger. Since college, Damien's passion for automobiles has been unwavering. He now works as an automotive engineer at a regional company, often coming home with engine grease on his hands and a broad smile on his face. "Serena," he calls, turning a page. "Take a look at this. They're releasing a limited edition Hellfire model next month. Isn't that insane?" Serena peeks over, trying to muster enthusiasm. "Wow, seems powerful," she replies. In truth, she thinks it's just another expensive hobby. But she loves Damien enough to pretend that some high-powered engine detail might be relevant to her life of fashion blogs and yoga class. He notices her lack of sparkle. "You all right? You look distracted." She tucks her hair behind her ear. "I'm fine. Just I was hoping we could redo the bedroom next month, maybe get new furniture." She shrugs a little too nonchalantly. "But I know you've been saving for, well, that car stuff." Damien closes the magazine and stands up, crossing to her. "We can talk about it. I just want to see if a raise might be in the cards soon. Anyway, how about we grab dinner at Frankie's tonight? Brandon and Helena invited us." She twists her lips, remembering Helena's last text. "Sure, let's do it." She and Damien hop into his older model coupe and head to the local sports bar, Frankie's Tavern. The place is dim and cozy, with neon beer signs along the walls. Helena is already at a booth, scanning the menu. Brandon sits beside her, trying to look casual but glancing around anxiously as though he expects someone to mock him at any second. Serena slides in across from Helena, exchanging polite smiles. Damien and Brandon greet each other with a playful handshake. Despite Brandon's slightly introverted demeanor, the two men have been friends for years, coasting through high school pranks and college debates. Lately, however, Serena's noticed a shift. People poke fun at Brandon's weight or his timid approach to life, and he's started bristling with barely disguised resentment. After some small talk about local news and another upcoming football match, Helena asks, "So, how's married life treating you two lovebirds?" She gestures at Serena and Damien. Serena forces a grin. "Oh, same old. We're good." She doesn't mention her restlessness, or that slight pit in her stomach whenever she thinks about how her life has become more routine than romantic. Damien nods with a genuine smile. "Yeah, can't complain. Work's busy, but, we manage." Brandon sips his cola and finally joins in. Damien's the car genius. He can build an engine out of spare parts if you leave him in a garage overnight. He attempts a laugh, but it falls flat. Helena pats Brandon's hand. "You could do that too if you were into cars," she teases. She's always the supportive wife, if sometimes a bit overbearing. Her full cheeks and lively eyes beam confidence, yet tonight, Serena detects a flicker of worry. Something's off with them too, she thinks. As the evening progresses, conversation drifts from new movie trailers to local gossip. Serena notices Brandon studying her across the table. She wonders if he's bored or if there's some new tension behind his stare. She can't place it, but a subtle discomfort creeps in. Why does he keep looking at me like that? When they part ways in the parking lot, Helena hugs Serena goodbye, while Brandon lingers for a moment. He opens his mouth as if to say something, then closes it, giving a strange half-smile. Before Serena can react, Damien honks from the car, and she walks off, an uneasy feeling trailing behind her. Back home, she stands by the window, gazing out at the tranquil street. Damien flips the living room lights off, calling her to bed. The world seems peaceful, yet strangely hollow to her. She can't shake the sense that cracks are forming beneath their postcard-perfect life. A couple of weekends later, Helena and Brandon host a casual get-together at their place. It's a modest, single-story home with a sun-bleached fence around the backyard and a simple welcome doormat on the porch. Inside, the living room features mismatched furniture, Helena's crocheted blankets draped over a worn-out sofa, Brandon's gaming console perched near an older TV. Damien is caught up in conversation with a friend from his company, a new face named Jared, who also loves cars and is enthralled by everything Damien has to say about torque and horsepower. Meanwhile, Helena hovers around the kitchen, offering snacks and refilling glasses with homemade lemonade. Serena drifts toward the sliding glass door, looking out over the small patio. She's feeling the stale press of idle chatter, everyone discussing sports or local gossip that doesn't truly interest her. Slipping outside to breathe some fresh air, she steps onto the deck. The late afternoon sun warms her bare arms and a soft breeze stirs her hair. Suddenly the door slides open again. Brandon steps out, letting the door click shut behind him. He's holding a lukewarm soda, eyes darting around like he's checking for eavesdroppers. The air between them feels charged, though neither knows why just yet. Serena clears her throat. "Needed a break from the crowd," she says with a half smile. "Guess you did too?" He nods. "Yeah, the noise got to me." He hesitates a moment. "Look, you seem different lately. Everything okay?" She pauses, torn between brushing him off and giving him a half-truth. "I'm all right, I guess. Just figuring out what I want from life, you know?" She tucks a strand of hair behind her ear. "Damien's wonderful in so many ways, but sometimes it feels like we're going through the motions." Brandon exhales slowly. "I get it. I mean, I'm dealing with stuff too." He lowers his voice. "People don't take me seriously. They act like I'm some joke, especially since I haven't advanced much at work." He shrugs. "Even Helena tries to be supportive, but it's like she's overshadowing me. There's a mutual understanding in their shared frustrations, hers about an unspoken void in her marriage, his about feeling belittled by life's constant jabs." Serena catches herself staring at Brandon longer than intended. In the soft glow of the sinking sun, the lines of worry on his face look deeper, more human. She reminds herself he's Damien's close friend, but she can't deny there's a fleeting sense of comfort in the conversation, a sense of being heard. "I'm sure you'll figure it out," she murmurs. "Sometimes talking helps." She gives him a small, genuine smile. "If you ever need to vent, you know I don't mind listening." Brandon's posture relaxes. "Thanks," he says, voice oddly gentle. "Same goes for you." Suddenly the door slides open again. Helena steps out with an empty bowl in her hands. "Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt." She notices the subtle tension between the two. Her expression flickers with curiosity, but she brushes it off. "Serena, I've got fresh fruit if you want some." Serena quickly nods. "Sure, I'll come in," she says, stepping past Brandon and entering the house. She can't help feeling a peculiar flutter in her stomach, like stepping on a cracked sidewalk, uncertain if it'll give way. Inside, the party continues with light banter. Damien is still engrossed in automotive talk. Serena wonders if he's even noticed her absence. Meanwhile, Brandon returns moments later, sitting next to Helena on the sofa but exchanging a brief, weighted glance with Serena across the room. In that instant, she feels the first stirrings of guilt and something else she can't quite name: curiosity? Attraction? She's not sure, but it wraps around her heart in a vague, unsettling way, hinting that life might soon become more complicated than she ever planned. A week after the backyard gathering, Serena is browsing through a boutique downtown, eyeing a sale rack. Her phone buzzes an incoming message from Brandon. "Could really use your opinion on something. Got a minute?" The text is unexpected, but her pulse quickens for reasons she refuses to articulate. Within the hour, she finds herself outside Brandon's place again, this time in broad daylight. The weather is mild, sky clear, No looming thunderclouds like in that fateful future scene. She glances around, feeling self-conscious. He greets her at the door, sporting a casual button-down and jeans. He thanks her for coming over so quickly. The living room is neater than usual, as though he tidied up right before she arrived. A laptop rests on the coffee table, displaying slides of design mock-ups for some image revamp he wants, for an upcoming get-together, something about rearranging furniture, picking new decor, and giving Helena a surprise party. Or so he says. Serena sits on the couch, scanning the slides. "You want my advice on color palettes?" she asks, with a small laugh. Brandon shrugs, sitting next to her but maintaining a polite distance. "Helena's birthday is coming up. I figured maybe a redecoration would be a cool gesture. But I'm clueless. You have taste." She appreciates the compliment. "Well, it depends on her style. She's fond of earthy tones, right?" She clicks through a few more pictures, suggesting a lighter color scheme for the curtains and some new wall art. Conversation flows more smoothly than she expected. It's not about frustration or boredom this time, it's about a creative project. She relaxes, leaning over the laptop while Brandon jots notes in a small pad. He glances at her. "Thank you. I really do value your input." She looks up and finds him closer than anticipated. His warm breath fans across her cheek, and she suddenly realizes how near they are. Time seems to pause in that charged moment, his eyes on hers. An invisible line pulses between them. She should pull back, laugh it off, change the subject, but neither moves. Her heart hammers against her ribcage, and that same flutter from before deepens into a full-blown tidal wave. She can't blame it on wine or darkness. It's midday, they're sober, and no illusions cloak the fact that this is dangerously intimate. "Serena," Brandon's voice barely reaches above a murmur. She doesn't respond. Her gaze slides to the faint scar on his jaw, something from his teenage years, maybe. He once joked it was from a skateboard accident, a fleeting thought. Why am I thinking about that now? Before she can reason with herself, he closes the gap, pressing a swift, trembling kiss against her lips. It's not forceful, but it's undeniably real. Instant guilt explodes in her chest, colliding with a dizzy rush of adrenaline. Her mind blares warnings. This is wrong, oh God, this is so wrong. Yet for a split second she yields, almost as if curious about crossing this forbidden line. Then, breath-hitching, she jerks away. The laptop almost slides off the table. She stands up, face hot and fingers shaking. I should go." Her tone wavers and Brandon looks equally rattled. "Serena, I'm sorry," he blurts. "I don't know what came over me." She scrambles to gather her purse, avoiding eye contact. "We can't. I mean, we shouldn't. This is insane." Her voice sounds foreign to her own ears, like someone else is speaking. She rushes toward the door, ignoring the pang in her chest. Brandon doesn't stop her. He just stands there, hand half raised, as if he wants to reach out but knows it'll only make things worse. Moments later, she's outside, breathing the crisp afternoon air. She walks to her car in a daze, heart pounding like it's about to leap out of her throat. Sliding into the driver's seat, she rests her forehead against the steering wheel. What have I done? For a full minute, she can't bring herself to turn on the ignition. The world around her feels surreal, a bright day masking her darkest confusion. Eventually, she starts the engine, forcing herself to drive away. She doesn't know how she'll face Damien tonight, doesn't know how she'll look him in the eye without her guilt splintering through every word. Nightfall settles over the small coffee shop parking lot, the neon sign flickering in and out of focus through the rain-smeared windshield. Serena grips the steering wheel, second-guessing her decision to come here. Brandon had called an hour ago, his voice strained as he asked if they could just talk. She had tried to avoid him ever since that unsettling moment at his place, but something about his tone pulled her in, maybe empathy, maybe curiosity. She glances at her phone. No messages from Damien. He's likely buried in some engine specs or drifting off to sleep. Rain taps against the roof like restless fingers. Finally, Brandon's figure appears outside, umbrella in hand, scanning cars until he spots hers. His expression is tense as he slides into the passenger seat, shaking droplets from his jacket. "Thanks for meeting me," he mutters, closing the door. The scent of rain and faint cologne clings to him. I didn't mean to ambush you." It's fine, Serena responds, though her pulse quickens. She flicks on the overhead light, revealing dark circles under Brandon's eyes. You sounded upset on the phone. He exhales. I've been dealing with some stuff at work. People still treat me like a joke. Helena's been busy and I don't want to bother her with it. I guess I just needed someone. Serena's chest tightens. Why me? She thinks of Damien, who's always so immersed in his automotive passion. It's not that he doesn't care, but he often fails to see beyond his beloved engines. Meanwhile, Brandon is here, pouring out his insecurities under the hum of a coffee shop sign. You could have talked to Helena, Serena suggests quietly. Brandon grimaces, rubbing his temple. Sometimes it feels like she's the only person holding us together, but I'm this constant disappointment in her eyes. I don't know if you understand. He stops himself. I'm sorry. You probably have your own problems. She shrugs, avoiding his gaze. Damien's a good guy, but I still feel incomplete, or maybe just overlooked. Her voice trembles. But that doesn't justify. Brandon cuts in. I know. I'm not trying to excuse anything that happened last time. Believe me, I've regretted that kiss the moment it happened, but I can't stop thinking about you, and I feel like a jerk. A heavy silence blankets the car. Serena's mind races back to the day they accidentally crossed the line. Guilt mixes with an odd spark of adrenaline. She wants to flee and remain all at once. Rain intensifies outside, rattling the windshield. Brandon gestures over his shoulder. This storm's getting nasty. Want to drive somewhere else? A quiet spot? The question hovers. Quiet spot? It sounds like a trap, but she can't deny a twisted curiosity. She nods, her voice failing her. She starts the engine, pulling out of the lot. They drive in tense silence until they find a dim side street. The street lamp overhead flickers, casting wavering shadows across the dashboard. The engine purrs softly as Serena shifts into park. Both remain quiet for an excruciating moment. Brandon finally speaks. I'm sorry, Serena. I know this is messed up. She sighs. We both know it is. Her breath hitches. Maybe we should just... He leans in, eyes haunted. Talk? A shaky laugh escapes him. I can't even figure out what to say anymore. She glances at his damp hair, the shadows under his eyes, the frantic need swirling in them. Something resonates with the loneliness she's felt for months. They're two flawed people seeking validation in the wrong place, and they both know it. When Brandon touches her hand, she doesn't immediately pull away. It's like an avalanche of pent-up frustrations. Suddenly, they kiss, this time more desperate, more charged than that first stolen moment. Rain drums a frantic beat on the roof. Serena's mind screams warnings about Damien, about Helena, about everything morally wrong. Yet for a few perilous seconds, she lets herself indulge. In a swirl of guilt and longing, she sinks into Brandon's embrace. It's not gentle romance, it's more an escape from their separate voids. Eventually, she gasps, pulling back. Her lipstick smudged, heart thumping as if she's run a marathon. Brandon, we can't do this. He wipes the back of his hand across his lips, eyes flooded with remorse. I know. But the confession of wrongdoing only buries them deeper. For a full minute, they sit in suffocating silence, rain beating relentlessly against the glass. Outside, the world is just blurry shapes and murky roads. Serena closes her eyes. Maybe we should go home. Pretend this didn't happen. Brandon sighs, nodding. But it did happen. He places a shaky hand on the door handle. We'll figure this out, okay? I just thank you for being there tonight. I promise I won't push you anymore. He steps out, umbrella snapping open. She watches him vanish into the stormy darkness, shoulders hunched like he's carrying the weight of 1,000 regrets. Alone in the car, she grips the steering wheel, pulse hammering. What have I done? She inhales raggedly, stares at the swirling raindrops, and finally drives off into the blackness. Her mind is a tempest, echoing with a truth she hates to face. She's taken a step past the point of simple mistakes, and there may be no turning back. Soft morning light filters through the bedroom blinds as Serena sits at the edge of the bed, nerves on edge. She's barely slept. Damien, dressed in a crisp shirt, rummages through his desk for a spare USB drive. The faint hum of conversation from the TV news in the living room underscores their awkward silence. "You're up early," he notes, glancing at her. "Everything okay?" She forces a thin smile. "Couldn't sleep. Thought I'd make some coffee." He frowns. "You seem off." Serena's stomach knots. "Just didn't rest well." She stands abruptly. "I'll be fine. What about you? Headed to work early?" He nods. "I've got a big project. Actually, I might need to stay late some new engine prototype they want me to examine." He looks at her more closely. "Sure you don't want to talk about something?" She stiffens. "Not like I can tell you I was kissing your best friend in my car last night." "No," she says, trying to keep her voice even. "I'm good. We can talk later." A short pause. Damien shrugs, kisses her cheek lightly, more routine than heartfelt, and grabs his keys. Moments later, the door closes behind him, leaving Serena alone in the hush of their house. Across town, in another modest suburban living room, Helena paces the floor while Brandon checks his phone. He's avoiding eye contact, which only makes her more suspicious. "You've been weird lately," she says, arms folded. "Coming home late from work, but your manager told me you clocked out on time all week. Care to explain?" Brandon's face pales. You called my manager?" He sets his phone aside. "Helena, that's crossing a line." She gives a bitter laugh. "Well, it's not like you've given me a choice. You vanish, come back with lame excuses. You're distant. Did I do something? Because if you're mad at me, just say it." He tries to lay a hand on her shoulder, but she steps back. "I'm not mad at you. It's just stress." He forces a weak chuckle. "I go for drives, to clear my head." Helena narrows her eyes. "Why don't you talk to me instead of driving off alone?" Brandon lowers his gaze. "It's embarrassing. Stuff about my job, people not taking me seriously. I didn't want to burden you." She studies his expression. Part of her wants to believe him, but red flags keep waving in her mind. "So these drives, that's it?" He nods too quickly. "Yes, that's it." She crosses her arms tighter. "Then let me ride along sometime. Let me see the route you're driving for hours in the rain." Brandon swallows hard. "Maybe another time. I do it to think, in solitude." A tense standoff. She finally backs down with a sigh, though her distrust remains. "Just be honest with me, okay?" He musters a nod, relief flickering. "I will." He checks his phone again, noticing a missed text from Serena. A pang of guilt shoots through him. He pockets the device fast, hoping Helena won't see. Meanwhile, Damien stops at a gas station on his way to work, rummaging through the glove box for a receipt. Serena asked him to pick up fresh milk, and he wants to confirm how much cash he has left. But instead of his typical receipts, he finds a crumpled bill from a fancy downtown restaurant dated last Thursday evening, about the same time Serena had claimed she was at a Pilates class. "Why is this in my car?" he wonders, eyebrows knitting. The charge is definitely not for a single meal. It's enough for two. He's sure he never ate there recently. Confusion gnaws at him. He rechecks the date, verifying there's no mix-up. The suspicion weighs heavily. Could she have borrowed my car? Or was she with someone? Unable to piece it all together, he finishes pumping gas and drives off, mind in turmoil. He can't escape the sense that something is amiss. A swirl of uneasy thoughts dogs him all day at the office, making it impossible to concentrate on engine schematics. At lunch, he stares blankly at his sandwich, rethinking the times Serena's come home late, the distance in her eyes, the vague excuses. Is she? No, she wouldn't do that. But the doubt lingers like a splinter he can't remove. Back home that evening, Serena prepares dinner quiet, tense. Damien arrives tired but determined to observe her more closely. Their conversation is polite, superficial, each question answered too quickly. Neither mentions the restaurant receipt nor the late nights. Two corners of one home, each harboring secrets. As they finish a silent meal, a heaviness settles. Something intangible is eroding the foundation of their relationship. They can feel it. They just can't name it or won't. Morning sun spills across Helena and Brandon's tidy living room, highlighting the tension that's built up over days. Helena has barely slept, suspicion gnawing her insides. She's decided to confront Brandon directly about the phone calls and inconsistent timelines. Slipping behind his back, she checks their shared phone account. The call log reveals repeated calls to an unknown number at odd hours. Her stomach twists. He's lying to me. Who is he talking to? When Brandon steps out of the shower, she's seated on the couch, phone records in hand. Care to explain these calls? She demands, voice sharp as broken glass. He pales. That's a coworker just checking on a project, he mumbles, avoiding eye contact. Her blood boils. Which coworker? The name's not in your contacts, and you don't do official calls at midnight, Brandon. He stammers. It's not what you think. Please, Helena, trust me. She slams down the papers. I don't. Not anymore. Without waiting for a response, she storms out to the driveway, heart pounding, unsure what her next move will be. Maybe I should track him, catch him red-handed. The idea simmers in her mind. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Damien stands by his dining table, re-examining that suspicious restaurant receipt. Could be a mix-up, or maybe Serena picked up fancy takeout, but the total is too high for a single dish. He recalls the times she claimed she had errands or gym classes, and how her phone would occasionally go straight to voicemail. At work, Damien can't let it go. Over lunch break, he quietly mentions to a friend, Tom, that he's worried Serena might be meeting someone. Tom advises caution, maybe it's nothing, but Damien feels uneasy. I don't want to be paranoid, he mutters, but something's definitely off. That evening, Serena leaves the house, saying she's meeting an old college friend who's in town for one night. Damien hides his unease and simply nods, deciding to do a bit of detective work. After she drives off, he waits a few minutes, then follows, keeping a distance. Guilt pricks him he's never spied on her before. But desperation robs him of reason. He trails Serena through town until she parks in front of a small cafe. Heart pounding, he watches her enter. Instead of meeting some friend, she heads straight to a table by the far window where Brandon sits. Damien's entire body tenses, fists clenched on the steering wheel. He can't hear their conversation, but from the anxious tilt of their heads, the hushed closeness, it's obvious they're confiding in each other. Serena's eyes dart around as though she's worried about being seen. Brandon looks fraught, occasionally placing a hand on hers. This is no mere polite meeting. Damien's face burns. His mind battles between anger, betrayal, and self-doubt. Did I push her away? Is this new? Or has it been going on for a while? He doesn't confront them now. His heart is pounding too wildly. Instead, he watches from the car until they finish. Serena exits first, scanning the parking lot. Brandon follows minutes later. They split up in separate cars, as if meticulously cautious not to be seen together. Damien drives home in a daze, nearly running a red light. Anger simmers in his chest. I need solid proof. Next time I'll catch them in the act. The thought feels like acid in his veins. He realizes the magnitude of his friend's betrayal and his wife's dishonesty. Elsewhere, Helena's plan takes shape. After learning Brandon left work early again, she quietly slips into her car to tail him. He's heading not to any office or supply store, but to a quiet park near the outskirts of town. She watches from a distance as he paces by the water fountain, phone to his ear. She snaps a few photos from her phone. She can't see who he's talking to or if he's waiting for someone, but the tension in his body says plenty he's acting like a man with secrets. As night falls, both Damien and Helena sense the same raw truth. Brandon and Serena have crossed lines they shouldn't have. Neither spouse has all the details yet, but each holds enough suspicion to set unstoppable wheels in motion. The air is heavy with foreboding when Damien pulls up outside Brandon's home late one afternoon. Clouds loom in the sky, gray and swollen, threatening another storm. He parks a few houses away, determined to confirm his darkest fears. He's had enough of guesses and half-truths. From his vantage point, he sees Serena's car arrive not long after, so she is here. His throat tightens as she slips inside Brandon's front door. Every muscle in Damien's body screams at him to confront them right away. Yet, he waits, adrenaline churning like a storm surge. Inside, Serena feels her pulse pounding. She and Brandon speak in hushed voices in the living room, the tension suffocating. "We should stop," she whispers. "We can't keep." Brandon steps closer. "I know, but I can't just—" He breaks off, raking a hand through his hair. "I'm in too deep, Serena. He falters, words tangled with desperation. Outside, Damien steps onto the walkway, shoulders rigid. He can see faint lights through the curtains. The front door is unlocked. Brandon must have been distracted, never double-checking. Fury resonates through Damien as he quietly pushes it open. Footsteps. Serena and Brandon exchange panicked glances. "Someone's here," she breathes, dread knotting her stomach. "Brandon?" calls a low, shaky voice, Damien's voice. The sound resonates down the hallway. Brandon's eyes widen. "Damien! Oh, God!" He turns to Serena. "Hide! Or—" Too late. Damien strides into the living room, raw emotion etched across his face. Serena's heart nearly stops. The sight of her husband in the threshold, rage and hurt mingling in his eyes, is like a thunderbolt. Brandon stands awkwardly, sweat beading on his brow. The TV chatters about the upcoming Super Bowl, but none of them care. Damien's gaze darts between them, the guilt on Serena's face, the fear on Brandon's. Tension crackles like static electricity. He notices Serena's disheveled hair, Brandon's flushed cheeks. "Serena," he says, voice strained. "What are you doing here?" She tries to speak, but words evaporate. Her chest tightens with terror and shame. She glances at Brandon, whose lips part in silent apology. Damien's fists clench. "Brandon, don't you dare move." His tone is dangerously calm, the kind of calm that precedes a storm. Brandon swallows. "Damien, this isn't—" "Don't lie to me," Damien snaps, voice finally breaking. "I've followed you both. I've seen enough to know something's going on." Serena's eyes fill with tears. "Damien, please, His head shakes in disbelief. The reality of betrayal cements itself. He looks once more at Brandon, pure loathing in his expression. 1,000 questions swirl in his mind. How long? Why would you do this to me? But fury overrides them. Outside, thunder grumbles, as if echoing the explosion in Damien's heart. He points toward Serena, voice trembling with heartbreak. You were the last person I ever thought would do this." Serena can't hold back a sob. All the guilt and tension crush her. She steps forward, arms half raised in a plea. "Damien, don't," he hisses, stepping away. "I don't want your excuses. You and Brandon? I can't believe this." The TV volume spikes, as if mocking them with cheerful sports commentary. Brandon tries to form words, but Damien storms out, slamming the door so hard the walls shudder. Serena stands frozen, tears carving silent paths down her cheeks. Brandon shuts his eyes, shoulders slumping. They both feel the weight of what just happened, the moment their secret ceased to be a secret. Everything has changed, and there's no undoing it. Lightning illuminates the gray sky beyond the window, and the first drops of rain start to pelt the glass. The storm has only begun. A day has passed since Damien burst into Brandon's living room and discovered the undeniable truth. The memory haunts him like a never-ending echo. He hasn't slept, barely eaten. Now, under a harsh midday sun, he stands in his own living room, once a space of comfortable routine, looking at Serena with cold, distant eyes. A suitcase lies open on the floor. A few of her clothes are strewn across the carpet, as though she half-heartedly tried to pack, but lost the will to finish. Her hands tremble, and her mascara has smudged from hours of crying. "Damien," she pleads, voice raw from repeating his name like a mantra. "We can talk this out." He crosses his arms. The usual warmth in his gaze has been replaced by quiet devastation. "Talk?" he echoes bitterly. "Serena, your words mean nothing to me now. Not after what I saw." She tries to reach for his hand, but he steps back. It feels like a knife twisting in her chest. For years, Serena had grown used to his quiet devotion. She figured that, even if cracks showed up, he would never completely shut her out. Now the finality in his expression is shocking. "Please," she chokes. It was a mistake, I swear. I got caught up in something stupid. I'm sorry." Damien's jaw tightens. "A mistake? You were sneaking around for weeks. This wasn't one bad decision, it was a series of them. Don't pretend it's just a slip-up." He picks up the suitcase and drops it by her feet. "Pack your things and get out," he says flatly. "I'm done with you, Serena." Her eyes brim with tears. She kneels beside the open suitcase, blindly grabbing clothes from the couch and shoving them inside. Her mind races with regrets. Why hadn't she seen this coming? The weight of losing not only her husband but also the comfortable life they shared crushes her. She glances up at him. Where am I supposed to go? Damien's features harden. Do I look like I care? His voice trembles slightly, betraying the storm of emotions underneath. Call Vanessa or check into a motel. I don't want you here tonight. Serena feels her pulse pounding in her ears. She thinks of all the times she counted on Damien's steady presence, took him for granted, believed he'd always be there no matter what. Now all that's left is the echo of slamming doors. He's turning his back on her, and the worst part is, she knows she caused this. Zipping her suitcase, she rises on shaky legs. "Damien, I'm so sorry," she whispers, tears spilling freely. But she can tell from his stony silence that no apology can fix it. She steps outside onto the sunlit porch, blinking in the brightness that feels more like a harsh spotlight. The door closes behind her with a thud that seems to seal her fate. In a haze of shame, Serena tosses the suitcase into the trunk of her car. As she pulls away from the driveway, she spots Damien through the window, head bowed, shoulders stiff. She wants to turn back, but she forces herself to keep driving. The marriage she once thought was unbreakable has shattered in the span of a few terrible weeks, and she has no idea what to do next. That same afternoon, Helena is at home, pacing circles around the kitchen table. An untouched sandwich sits on a plate. She has no appetite. Her phone rests in her palm, still open to half a dozen text messages from friends. "Is it true?" they ask. "We heard rumors about Brandon and Serena. Are you okay?" She's not okay at all. She's seething, heart pounding with betrayal. All the suspicious late nights, the phone logs, the odd behavior confirmed by Damien's meltdown the previous day. Part of her is furious at Brandon. Another part is furious at herself for trusting him so blindly. When the front door creaks open, Helena whips around. Brandon stands there, shoulders hunched, eyes rimmed with exhaustion. He stammers a greeting. "Hey, but he doesn't finish. Helena strides toward him, her face etched with hurt. Without warning, she slaps him hard enough that the sound reverberates. She's never done anything like that before, and the sting on her palm feels both shocking and strangely satisfying. Brandon clutches his cheek, eyes wide. "Helena, look, I was gonna—" "Explain?" she fumes. "You want to explain after humiliating me? You lied to me for weeks, maybe months. How dare you?" He tries to steady himself. "I'm sorry, I never meant to hurt—" She laughs, short and bitter. "Hurt me? You made a fool of me, Brandon. People are whispering behind my back. Our friends are either disgusted or pitying me, and the worst part is you did it with someone we both know." Brandon's gaze drops. "Serena was. I don't know how it happened. I felt so worthless and—" "Don't!" Helena's voice is ice cold. "Don't you dare throw me some sob story. If you had a problem, you could have come to me. Instead, you ran off chasing some. Vanity or revenge? Was it about revenge? Did you think taking Damien's wife would prove you were finally on top?" He flinches at her words. "I never planned it," he mumbles. "It just got out of control." She glares, tears threatening at the corners of her eyes, though she refuses to let them fall. "You and Serena have destroyed 2 marriages, Brandon. But let me make one thing clear. I won't be the victim you trample over. If you think you can just come home and say you're sorry, you're dead wrong." She snatches her phone off the table, waving it at him. "It wouldn't take much for me to file divorce papers, or I could just spread the news that you used your best friend's wife to boost your pathetic ego." His stomach twists. "Helena, please, don't do this." He steps closer, but she lifts a hand, warning him to stay back. "I haven't decided how I'm going to handle you," she retorts. "But don't expect any mercy. You embarrassed me. I might just let you see what that feels like in return." Brandon tries to speak, but his throat closes. He's never seen Helena like this. The quiet, cheerful wife he relied on has transformed into a formidable adversary. Fear gnaws at him. She can ruin me, he realizes, and I deserve it. She glances at his cowering form. "For now, you can stay in the guest room," she spits. "But don't even think about me forgiving you. Not yet. Maybe not ever." With that, Helena storms upstairs, leaving Brandon alone in the silence of the living room. He drags a hand over his face, feeling the sting from her slap. Part of him wants to run, but there's nowhere to hide from what he's done. He stands there, breath shallow, grappling with the truth that he's lost Helena's trust and maybe her love for good. Morning arrives with an overcast sky. Damien parks his car outside a nondescript diner on the edge of town, glancing down at the text message Helena sent him the night before. "We need to talk. Both our lives are wrecked. Meet me at 10 a.m. He'd hesitated, but curiosity and a simmering resentment toward both Serena and Brandon drove him here. He enters the diner, an old-fashioned place with vinyl booths and the faint aroma of bacon grease. Helena is already in a corner booth, hands wrapped around a mug of coffee. She looks tired, dark smudges under her eyes, hair pulled into a messy ponytail. Her usual lively warmth is nowhere in sight. Damien slides into the seat opposite her. An awkward hush descends. Finally, Helena gestures at a waitress for another cup of coffee. "I almost didn't think you'd show," she admits softly. He exhales, shoulders tense. "I wasn't sure either, but I want answers." She nods, taking a sip of coffee before speaking. "We both got played," she says bluntly. "Your wife, my husband. I'm beyond furious, and I'm sure you are too." Damien's jaw twitches. "Yeah, furious doesn't even cut it. I kicked Serena out. I can't stand looking at her face after what she did." Helena doesn't bother to hide her own bitterness. "I gave Brandon a piece of my mind. He's terrified I'll divorce him. To be honest, I'm considering it." Damien shifts uncomfortably. "So why did you want to see me?" She takes a breath, lowers her voice. "Because we're stronger together than apart. They betrayed us, Damien, and I think they deserve a taste of their own medicine. Not necessarily physically," she adds quickly, "but emotionally. If we let them walk away unscathed, that's not justice." His brow furrows. "You're talking about revenge?" She glances out the window, eyes stormy. "They humiliated us, cheated on us behind our backs. Why should they get to run off and be forgiven so easily?" She sighs. "I don't know exactly what I'm proposing, but I can't swallow the idea that we just quietly fade into heartbreak while they continue living guilt-free." Damien sips his coffee, the bitterness matching his mood. "I never thought I'd sink to petty revenge, but I can't deny the urge to see them face consequences." Helena leans forward, her voice trembling with pent-up rage. "You were his best friend. I'm his wife. They stole from us our trust, our happiness. Maybe we can find a way to make them realize how deeply they cut us, even if it's just forcing them to see what they've done up close." Damien's mind reels. He's always prided himself on fairness and honesty, but the pain is still too raw. A grim part of him yearns to see Serena squirm, to see Brandon regret his every move. He lowers his gaze to the chipped tabletop. "I don't want to do anything illegal or physically harm them. That's not who I am." Helena nods. "Agreed. But if there's a way to show them we're not pushovers, we can't let them think they can patch things up in some cozy bubble while we drown in misery." They sit in tense silence, the clatter of dishes and distant pop music filling the background. Outside, the sky remains gloomy, as though mirroring their collective grief. Eventually, Helena breaks the quiet. "We don't have to settle on a specific plan right now. Maybe just keep each other informed, share any details we find. If we can coordinate, we can turn the tables." Damien exhales, shakily. "I feel messed up even discussing this, but you're right. I don't want them to think we'll just roll over." Helena offers a faint, wry smile. "Then let's keep in touch. For me, it's not about hurting them physically. It's about making sure they can't brush off what they've done." Damien nods, a pang of guilt swirling with anger. "All right, we'll talk." They exchange phone numbers this time, not for friendly double dates or weekend barbecues, but for something darker, an alliance built on shared betrayal. Neither knows if this path will bring closure or more heartbreak, but at least they're not alone in their pain. As they stand to leave, Helena hesitates. "Thank you for meeting me. I'm sorry we had to do this under these circumstances." Damien tugs his jacket sleeves. "Me too." A beat passes. "But maybe it'll help us survive this chaos." With a nod, they part ways, each returning to their separate storms of heartbreak. Whether their new bond leads to healing or vengeance remains uncertain, but one thing is sure: they won't let Serena and Brandon escape unscathed. By late afternoon, Serena finds herself on Vanessa's doorstep. The crisp air carries a hint of autumn, leaves turning amber and gold along the quiet street. She clutches her small suitcase, shoulders sagging with exhaustion and shame. Vanessa, her older sister, answers the door in sweatpants and a tired expression. "Serena," she says, arms folded. "I half expected this." Her voice holds no malice, just resignation. Serena's eyes brim with tears. "I messed up, Ness. Damien kicked me out. I have nowhere else to go." Vanessa lets her in, waving away an awkward silence. The living room is modest piles of books and a half-finished puzzle on the coffee table. It's warm, though, and for a moment, Serena feels the sting of how comfortable she used to be in her own place with Damien. They sit on a worn couch. Serena spills the story in halting bursts how she got entangled with Brandon, how it escalated, how Damien found out. Vanessa listens, occasionally pinching the bridge of her nose as if fighting a headache. "I mean, what were you thinking?" Vanessa finally demands, frustration lacing her tone. "Damien adored you. He wasn't perfect, but come on." Serena can't meet her sister's gaze. "I got bored, restless. I felt overshadowed by his obsession with cars and, I don't know. It all sounds so stupid now." Vanessa exhales. "It is stupid. You had a decent life, but you threw it away for what? Some cheap thrill with Brandon?" Tears slip down Serena's cheeks. "I'm sorry, okay? I'm so sorry, but I can't change it now. I need a place to stay until I figure something out." Her sister's expression softens a fraction. "Fine, you can crash here, but don't expect me to coddle you or fix your mess. You brought this on yourself." Serena nods, grateful but trembling. The weight of her choices presses down like a heavy blanket. She thinks of calling Brandon, but shame paralyzes her. She wonders if he's dealing with Helena's wrath or if he even wants to talk. The thought of him doesn't bring comfort anymore. It only reminds her of the chaos they caused. As evening sets in, Serena sits by a small window in the guest room, gazing at the streetlights flickering on. She can't ignore the swirl of guilt, regret, and fear about the future. Damien's face haunts her, his hurt, his anger, the finality in his voice. Have I lost him forever? She wonders, heart twisting. Downstairs, Vanessa washes dishes, occasionally glancing toward the ceiling as if expecting some meltdown. But the house remains quiet. All that lingers is the tension of a sister who pities Serena, yet resents her stupidity. By the time night fully falls, Serena's phone buzzes. She snatches it up, heart hammering. The screen shows a call from an unknown number. She hesitates but answers, voice shaky. "Hello?" The line crackles. A low voice says, "Serena, it's me, Brandon." Her breath catches. His tone is heavy, like a man drowning in regret. Can we talk?" She steels herself, unsure if she wants to face him. "I don't know," she admits, voice raw. "I'm at my sister's. It's not a good time." A long pause. Finally, Brandon sighs. "Everything's messed up. Helena. She's threatening divorce, maybe worse. Damien's practically declared war. I'm just call me back, please." He hangs up before she can reply, leaving her more rattled. She grips the phone, the beep of disconnection echoing in her ear. Brandon wants my help? The irony stings. They both destroyed each other's marriages, and now they're free-falling, with nothing to cling to but regret. Late that night, Serena remains curled up in the guest room bed. Sleep refuses to come. She's aware that her life has hit rock bottom. The question is, will she sink further, or can she somehow climb out? A crisp wind sweeps through the nearly deserted parking lot of Brandon's workplace. He stands next to his old car, scanning the building's glass doors with apprehension. Usually around this time he'd be inside finishing his shift. But for days now, he's been on leave, a gentle word his boss used to mean stay away until the gossip dies down. He sighs, shoulders hunched against the late afternoon chill. The rumor mill has been relentless. Some coworkers offered awkward sympathy, but most either snubbed him or quietly ridiculed him. He's become that guy who messed around with a friend's wife. Brandon never thought he'd be the subject of such scandal, but here he is, job hanging by a thread and personal life in ruins. Desperation gnaws at him. Bills are overdue, and Helena refuses to dip into their joint savings for any of his expenses. She said it was his mess, so he could figure it out alone. He can't argue he pretty much deserves this exile. Still, it stings to see how quickly everything unraveled. He peers through the glass doors, hoping to catch a glimpse of his manager to ask for an update. Instead, he spots two junior employees whispering and glancing in his direction. One gives him a pitying look. The other just shakes their head. Brandon's cheeks burn with shame. He slips back into his car. As he starts the engine, an unwelcome swirl of self-doubt floods his mind. I used to dream about proving myself. All I proved is that I can screw up my entire life. His phone buzzes on the passenger seat, an email alert about a late payment. He clenches his teeth. Perfect, he mutters, throwing the phone aside. Driving aimlessly through the suburbs, Brandon wrestles with his thoughts. He recalls Helena's icy stare when she demanded he sleep in the guest room. You humiliated me. The words ring in his head. He can't blame her. Even at home, he's an outsider, a traitor under her roof. Finally, he pulls into a near-empty strip mall parking lot. The neon sign for a cheap diner flickers overhead. He wonders if Serena might be here lately. Every place feels haunted by that possibility, but he shakes the thought away. They barely speak these days. Guilt tarnishes every conversation. Entering the diner, he slides into a booth. A tired waitress named Teresa recognizes him from old weekends he and Helena used to come in for pancakes. Now, she just offers a polite, pitying nod. Coffee? She asks. Brandon musters a weak smile. Yeah, thanks. He stares at the plastic menu, mind wandering. How did I become this guy? He used to joke with Damien about house projects, about how they'd handle future fatherhood. Now the mere idea that he once had such casual confidence feels laughable. He flips open his wallet empty except for a half-worn credit card and a crumpled receipt from the day he and Serena first kissed. His chest constricts at the memory. Suddenly the thought of food sickens him, so he just orders coffee. Sipping the bitter brew, he reflects on Helena's parting words that morning. Prove to me I'm not wasting my time. But how? A text pings his phone. He jolts, hopeful it might be some job lead. Instead, it's a message from Serena. I can't talk tonight, dealing with my own mess. Hope you're okay. He smirks without humor. We're both drowning, but neither of us has a life raft. He considers responding, then shoves the phone away. If they talk, it'll only dredge up the heartbreak they caused. Instead, he stares out the diner window at the flickering streetlight. Helena's ultimatum echoes in his mind. Fix this, or get out of my life. He wonders if there's any road left for them that leads to forgiveness, or if he's already hit the end of the line. By the time he leaves, the sky has faded to a muted gray. He heads home to Helena's silent house, dreading the next confrontation, dreading the emptiness of that guest room. Yet he also knows he has no right to complain. He wanted to feel important, to overcome his insecurities, and ended up trashing everything in the process. As he parks in the driveway, he steels himself, mentally rehearsing lines for Helena, how he can find a new job or get counseling or anything that proves he's not worthless. Still, doubt tugs at him, because deep down, Brandon wonders if it's too late to mend his marriage, too late to salvage his reputation, too late to reclaim who he used to be. Night blankets the city in a hush, interrupted only by the distant roar of traffic. Damien grips the wheel of his Dodge Challenger, headlights slicing through the darkness. He's been driving for hours, each turn more aimless than the last, trying to outrun the memories of Serena's betrayal. But no matter how fast he goes, the pain keeps pace. He pulls onto a winding back road outside the city, the kind of stretch where you can test your engine's power without many onlookers. Am I punishing the car or myself? He wonders bitterly, pressing the gas pedal. The Hellcat's engine snarls, a surge of adrenaline momentarily pushing out his thoughts. Suddenly, flashing blue Android lights appear in his rearview mirror. Siren wails cut through the stillness. Startled, Damien slows and eases onto the gravel shoulder. He kills the engine, heart thumping. The officer steps out of the patrol car, slim build, confident stride. Her flashlight beams across Damien's face. He rolls down his window. Evening, he mumbles, bracing for a lecture on reckless driving. The officer lowers the flashlight, revealing a woman with keen eyes and dark hair pulled into a sleek ponytail. Her badge reads C. Yates. This must be Charlotte. You in a hurry to outrun a ghost or something? Her tone is firm but not unkind. Damien exhales, hands still on the wheel. Something like that, he admits quietly. Usually he'd offer an apology or a quick excuse, but tonight he's too drained to pretend. Charlotte leans closer, noting the tension etched on his features. License and registration, please. He hands them over, gaze drifting to her face. She looks about 20-something, younger than him, but there's a sharp intelligence in her eyes. As she checks his details, the awkward silence hangs. You know, Mr. Clark, she says, reading his name off the license, I could cite you for speeding, but you seem like you've got enough trouble on your mind. Damien musters a rueful smirk. That obvious? She returns to her cruiser briefly, running the info. When she returns, her voice softens. Look, you were driving well above the limit. I should give you a ticket, but let's just call this a warning. She tilts her head. On one condition, drive safer. Life's too short for reckless stunts. He glances at the wheel, guilt coiling in his gut. Thanks, officer. He reads the name on her uniform. Yates. She offers a faint smile. Charlotte's fine. And hey, if you ever need to blow off steam, maybe find a track or something. I'd hate to scrape you off this road one night. He's surprised by her concern, some combination of professional duty and genuine empathy. You're right. I appreciate it. She studies him for another second, as if sensing the turmoil behind his eyes. Take care, Damien, she says, handing back his documents. And remember, no matter how fast you drive, you can't outrun everything. Her words hit home. He swallows hard, giving a curt nod. Understood. Moments later, she's back in her patrol car, lights off, letting him pull away. As he drives more cautiously toward the city lights, he can't help replaying their brief exchange. Charlotte's unusual mix of authority and compassion lingers in his mind. For the first time since Serena's betrayal, he feels a flicker of something that isn't raw anger, maybe curiosity or relief that not everyone in this world is out to hurt him. He heads home, or at least to the empty condo he's been renting since he kicked Serena out. His heart is still heavy, but the encounter with Charlotte somehow takes an edge off his pain. Tired as he is, a part of him wonders if life might hold unexpected second chances even on the darkest roads. A week later, an uneasy truce forms among the former circle of friends. One of their mutual acquaintances, a man named Marcus, decides to host a dinner in a misguided attempt at bringing everyone back together. Maybe Marcus hopes to diffuse tension or keep the friend group from splintering entirely. So on a chilly Saturday evening, everyone converges on Marcus's spacious backyard. Strings of fairy lights glimmer overhead, and a buffet table groans with potluck dishes. Damien arrives first, invited out of courtesy. He steps into the yard, spotting a cluster of faces that seem equally uncomfortable. Across the lawn, Helena stands with her arms folded, scanning the crowd. Brandon lurks behind her, looking guilt-ridden. Serena stands by the appetizer table, fiddling with a plate she isn't eating from. And then there's Charlotte. Damien didn't expect to see her here, but apparently Marcus knows her through some local charity event. She's sipping punch, looking slightly out of place among this tense group. The atmosphere is charged. People murmur in small clusters, shooting glances at the four individuals caught in a scandal. Finally, Marcus claps his hands for attention, forcing smiles all around. Thanks for coming, guys. Let's forget the drama and just have a good meal, okay? His attempt at levity falls flat. Damien stands by the grill, eyes fixed on a sizzling row of burgers, until Charlotte quietly joins him. Fancy seeing you here, she comments, her tone gentle. He clears his throat, still a bit unsure how to act around her. Yeah, guess Marcus felt sorry for me and decided to invite me. He notices Serena's gaze flick in their direction. He tries not to bristle, but the memory of betrayal stings. Across the yard, Helena makes a beeline for Brandon, hissing quietly, "Try to look normal, will you? People are staring." Brandon nods mutely, setting down his half-eaten slider. "I'm trying, I'm sorry." She just sighs, adjusting the collar of her coat. "We'll talk later." Serena, meanwhile, spots Charlotte with Damien. A pang of jealousy rattles her. She edges closer to the group, wanting to overhear. She catches a snippet of laughter from Charlotte, a melodic sound that, to Serena's ears, feels like a threat. "She's laughing with my husband, ex-husband?" Husband to Beeks? Her chest tightens with a swirl of regret and anger. At the buffet table, someone tries to spark conversation about sports, but the tension is palpable. Finally, Helena snaps. She rounds on Brandon, voice cutting through the hum of uneasy chatter. "Don't you stand there acting like everything's fine," she blurts. "You humiliated me. Everyone here knows it." Brandon flushes, hands clenched at his sides. "I'm not acting. I just don't know what else to do." Their argument hushes the yard. Serena sets her plate down, eyes flicking between them. Charlotte shifts uncomfortably beside Damien, who crosses his arms, face impassive. Helena's voice trembles with suppressed rage. "Just because we're at some forced dinner doesn't mean I've forgiven you, Brandon. You broke my trust. Don't think this is over." Brandon tries to speak, but a wave of humiliating silence drowns him out. Marcus attempts to intervene. "Guys, let's keep it civil." But Helena shoots him a glare that suggests he back off. Serena, feeling the sting of blame, tries to fade into the background. But Helena whips around, pointing a finger. "And you, Serena, don't think you're off the hook. Damien might be polite, but I see how you look at him and at that new friend of his." She sneers, jerking her chin toward Charlotte. A flush creeps up Serena's neck. She wants to retort, but shame locks her tongue. Charlotte presses her lips together, uncomfortable at being dragged into the drama. Damien steps forward, voice low. "That's enough, Helena. We're not here to start a scene." Helena breathes heavily, anger swirling in her eyes. "Fine. But I'm not pretending everything's sunshine." "Brandon, Serena." Her voice quivers. "You both deserve to know how worthless you made us feel." Tears threaten at the corners of her eyes. She storms off, leaving Brandon paralyzed with guilt and Serena trembling with combined remorse and indignation. The rest of the party stands frozen, uncertain how to proceed. Charlotte gently touches Damien's arm. "Maybe we should go," she whispers. He nods, exhaling. This dinner was doomed from the start. In less than 5 minutes, the tense gathering disperses. Helena and Brandon drive off separately while Serena lingers near her car, as if hoping for a chance to speak to Damien. He avoids her gaze, escorting Charlotte to her own vehicle. She gives him a tight smile, as though empathizing with the emotional battlefield they just survived. Damien climbs into his Hellcat, heart pounding. The confrontation only solidified the lines drawn between them all. There's no going back to how things were. The wheels of heartbreak and bitterness keep turning, dragging them along, and now, with Charlotte in the picture, albeit loosely Serena's regret, is on a direct collision course with Damien's battered heart. 3 days after the disastrous dinner, Damien sits in a law office, flipping through documents under fluorescent lights that hum like an anxious beehive. A stern-faced attorney, Miss Baxter, points out the relevant sections. "If you sign here," she says, tapping a line with her pen, "you're formally filing for divorce from Serena Clark." He stares at the paper. The finality of it sends a pang through his chest. This is it, then. He recalls the warmth of their wedding day flowers, promises, that first kiss as husband and wife. Now those memories are overshadowed by her betrayal. With a slow breath, he signs the page. Miss Baxter nods, gathering the sheets. "We'll serve these papers officially. Depending on how she responds, we can proceed with negotiations or go to court. Any joint property or accounts, we'll handle case by case." Damien stands, shoulders heavy. "Thanks," he mumbles, voice hollow. He never imagined he'd be divorcing Serena under such circumstances, but reality won't bend to illusions. He's done holding on to false hope. Meanwhile, across town, Helena sits in her living room, toying with the idea of calling her own lawyer. She has the number of a recommended firm, one that handles high-asset divorces. She stares at the phone. Should I do it? Or give Brandon one last chance to fix this? Footsteps approach Brandon, looking wary. "Helena," he begins softly, "we need to talk about us. I can't keep living like strangers under the same roof." She sets aside the slip of paper with the attorney's number. "What's there to talk about?" Her tone is edged with exhaustion. "You broke my heart. You lost your job, and your reputation is in shreds. How do we rebuild from that?" Brandon bows his head, heartbreak etched on his features. "I want to earn your forgiveness. I'll do whatever it takes: therapy, new job, a fresh start. I I can't lose you. Her eyes flick with conflicted emotions. Anger, hurt, lingering love. She exhales. I haven't decided yet, she admits. Part of me wants to scorch the earth and move on. Another part, well, we shared years together. I'm torn. Brandon nods, swallowing. If you need time, I'll give it to you. If you want me to leave, I'll pack. But please let me try to show you I can change. She says nothing for a long moment, then finally stands. One step at a time. Don't expect me to be the loving wife you remember, and if you slip up again, if I see anything shady, I'm calling that lawyer. With that, she walks away, leaving Brandon alone, relief warring with fear in his chest. Simultaneously, at a cramped corner of Vanessa's apartment, Serena scrolls through her phone, scanning contact info for attorneys. She dials a local firm, voice trembling as she explains her situation. The cost of hiring a good lawyer is steep, and she's down to her last savings, but she's desperate to salvage whatever she can. Maybe if I show I'm willing to fight for half, Damien will realize how lost he'd be without me. The thought crosses her mind. She half believes she can still fix things if she plays her cards right. That evening, Charlotte finishes a long shift, exhaustion tugging at her limbs. As she unloads her gear in the station locker room, her phone buzzes with a text from Damien. Thank you for your advice the other night. Signed the divorce papers today, rough day. Hope you're doing okay. She reads it twice, heart twisting in empathy. She's still unsure how deeply she wants to get involved, but she can't deny a growing concern for him. She writes back, I'm here if you need a friend. Take it one day at a time. Damien receives the message in his car, parked outside a convenience store. He exhales, shoulders sagging. Maybe there's a path forward, however small. He texts back a brief thanks, then starts the engine. For a moment, the world feels a little less crushing. A crisp morning sun streams through the blinds of Damien's new apartment, a modest one-bedroom in a sprawling complex on the outskirts of the city. Outside, rows of near-identical buildings stretch under a pale sky, while the distant hum of traffic blends with the quiet chirp of birds. Though it's been weeks since he moved in, unpacked boxes still line the hallway, evidence that he's only half committed to making this place a home. Damien stands in the kitchenette, coffee mug in hand. The walls feel bare and cold, nothing like the house he once shared with Serena. He sips the bitter brew, scanning the half-assembled bookshelf shoved against a corner. Car magazines spill from boxes, next to a few dog-eared paperback thrillers and a dusty photo album. I should decorate, he thinks fleetingly, but the motivation eludes him. His phone buzzes, rattling on the kitchen counter. An incoming text from Charlotte. Hey, how's the new place treating you? Up for a drive this weekend? A faint smile tugs at his lips. Though he's not ready for anything serious, Charlotte's genuine concern has become an unexpected pillar of support. He types back, still settling in. Might be nice to get out, sure. Let's see. He hesitates, then presses send. The warmth he feels is unfamiliar, like a tiny flame flickering in the darkness. After a quick shower, he steps into the bedroom. Sunlight hits the rumpled bed, the solitary pillow. Everything reminds him of what he lost. But there's no point dwelling on that. He's made his decision, filed the divorce papers, ended the illusions. He smooths down the comforter, determined not to sink into regret. Later that afternoon, he decides to tackle his garage space, really just a covered slot near the complex gates. He rolls up in his Dodge Challenger, engine rumbling. As he parks, a teenage neighbor passes by, starry-eyed at the car's sleek lines. Damien offers a polite nod. At least out here no one sees me as the heartbroken husband. Still, he misses the old house's driveway, the workshop corner where he'd tinker late into the night. Popping the hood, he checks fluid levels, fiddles with the wiring. Cars have always been his sanctuary, straightforward, fixable with the right tools. Human emotions, on the other hand, are a maze with no guaranteed solutions. He glances at his phone once more, reading Charlotte's last text about a scenic route she heard about. The idea of cruising open roads with someone who won't judge him stirs a glimmer of hope. He exhales, returning to the solitude of his new apartment, but feeling a faint sense of progress. Living alone may not be easy, but at least he's beginning to live. In Vanessa's cozy living room, Serena kneels on a faded rug, organizing the meager belongings she salvaged from her old home, mostly clothes, a laptop, and a few sentimental keepsakes. Afternoon light filters through the window, illuminating the floating dust motes. Despite the soft cushions and Vanessa's warm decor, Serena feels like a guest overstaying her welcome. Vanessa breezes in from the kitchen, arms folded over her sweater. "I grabbed a few groceries," she says, eyes flicking to Serena's pile. "You managed to find any jobs yet?" Serena's face flushes. She sets aside a pair of heels she once wore to fancy dinners with Damien. "Not yet," she murmurs. "I'm looking online, but it's tough." Vanessa lifts an eyebrow. "Bills won't pay themselves. I can't cover you forever. My rent is already high." Serena nods, swallowing a surge of frustration. She appreciates Vanessa's generosity, but the constant reminders sting. "I put myself here," she reminds herself. No point complaining. "Right," Serena says quietly. "I'll keep trying. I promise." Vanessa steps closer, sighing as she spots Serena's phone lying face down. "And that guy, what's his name, Wesley? Didn't you mention he offered you some kind of job or place to stay?" Serena's jaw tightens. She recalls Wesley, a wealthy, silver-haired businessman she met through a friend of a friend. He'd shown her interest once, a subtle implication that if she ever needed financial stability, he might help. But the idea of turning to him feels like a transaction, not a solution. He's not exactly "there's always a catch" with men like Wesley. Vanessa shrugs. "Well, do what you want. But sitting here broke and depressed isn't an option. Either find a real job or I don't know. Figure something out." With that, Vanessa heads to her bedroom, leaving Serena alone with her swirling thoughts. She stares at her phone, biting her lip. Wesley's number is saved under W maybe. Is it worth calling him? The memory of their last conversation emerges. "I can help you out, Serena. No strings, well. Maybe just one or two." The memory still leaves a sour taste in her mouth. She checks her bank balance number so low it's almost laughable. With a shaky breath, she dials the number before she can overthink it. It rings once, twice. A smooth baritone answers. "Serena. Long time no speak." Her heart pounds. "Hey, Wesley." She forces a casual tone. "I was wondering if we could meet to talk about that, opportunity you mentioned." His quiet chuckle drips with subtle smugness. "I'd be happy to. Why don't we grab dinner tomorrow? My treat." She exhales, both relieved and wary. "Okay, text me the place." When she hangs up, guilt prickles at her. She pictures Damien signing divorce papers, Charlotte possibly at his side. He moved on, so why shouldn't I? But even as she rationalizes it, a gnawing sense of regret tugs at her chest. Because deep down, she's not sure if Wesley's help is the path to salvation or just another spiral leading nowhere. Rain clouds gather over the city's industrial district as Brandon approaches a dull gray warehouse, following an address he got from an old acquaintance. He's drenched from sprinting through the drizzle, but determination propels him forward. After Helena's half-forgiveness, he's desperate to fix his financial and personal situation. If I can just land a new job, maybe show her I'm serious. He steps inside, greeted by the clang of machinery and the pungent odor of metal shavings. Workers bustle about, assembling custom automotive parts. It's a small company, but rumored to be expanding. Brandon glances around, nerves fluttering. A burly foreman named Nate, a co-worker from Brandon's past, though not exactly a friend, waves him over. "Heard you were looking for work," Nate grumbles. "Boss is in his office." He jerks a thumb toward a corner room. "But I can't promise nothing." Brandon swallows hard. He threads past forklift pallets toward a windowed office. The boss, Mr. Delgado, sits behind a cluttered desk, phone cradled between shoulder and ear. Brandon waits awkwardly until Delgado hangs up. "Yeah," Delgado says, not unfriendly but clearly busy. "I'm Brandon Morgan," he begins, voice catching. "I heard you might have an opening." "I have experience," and Delgado waves him to a chair. "I've seen your resume. It's decent. Why'd you leave your last job?" The question lands heavy, hinting at the rumor mill. Brandon hesitates. Personal reasons. My contract ended." He half lies. His face warms, worried Delgado might press for details about the scandal. Delgado nods slowly, leaning back. We do background checks, you know. I'm not a fan of drama. If I hire you, can you keep your head down and work? Brandon musters a firm nod. Absolutely. I just want a fresh start. I'm ready to put in the hours, learn new skills if needed. Delgado eyes him, expression unreadable. Then he slides a form across the desk. Fill this out. We'll see how you handle a probationary period. Pay's not great, but it's better than unemployment. Brandon's heart lifts slightly. Thank you. I appreciate the chance. On his way out, form in hand, he exhales in relief. He might not be in love with factory work, but at least it's something. A small victory. Helena might see I'm trying. He imagines telling her about it over dinner. Maybe she'll soften her stance, let him back into their bedroom, their life. But the shadow of guilt still looms, because no matter how many steps he takes toward being better, the memory of betraying both Helena and Damien remains. He wonders if he'll ever atone for the damage done. Maybe if I talk to Damien, he thinks suddenly. If he forgives me, that'd mean something, right? The idea is daunting, but the seed is planted. By the time he steps back into the rain, Brandon clutches the paperwork like a lifeline. He looks up at the brooding sky, letting droplets splash his face. For the first time in weeks, he feels a spark of hope that not all doors are closed. If he can prove himself at this job, maybe he can mend at least a fraction of what he's broken. Early evening light spills across the polished floors of a small automotive museum on the outskirts of town. Damien stands near an exhibit of vintage muscle cars, reading the plaques about horsepower and design evolution. This place is quieter than he anticipated, but the hush soothes him. It's a welcome break from the drama that's consumed his life. Moments later, Charlotte steps inside, wearing casual jeans and a leather jacket. She removes her helmet. Apparently she rode her motorcycle here, and flashes him a friendly grin. Quite the place, she says, glancing around. Never been here before. Damien returns the smile, albeit shyly. I used to come here with Well. It's been a while. Thanks for meeting me. They wander among gleaming Chevelles and Mustangs, discussing the engineering marvels. Charlotte occasionally throws in a witty remark about how her police cruiser is nowhere near as stylish. Damien chuckles, the tension in his chest easing with each playful exchange. After they finish exploring the museum, they head to a small diner next door, a cozy, retro-style spot with red vinyl booths and neon signs. Settling into a corner booth, they order burgers and milkshakes. The moment the waitress leaves, a quieter mood envelops them. Charlotte leans forward, resting her elbows on the table. How are you really? She asks, voice gentle. Damien fiddles with a paper napkin. I'm managing. Divorce is stressful, but I guess I'm learning to stand on my own. He offers a half smile. Thanks for not judging me. She shrugs softly. Everyone has baggage. Yours just happens to be heavier right now. I respect how you're handling it. They talk about her job, some hair-raising traffic stops, the adrenaline of patrolling highways before the conversation circles back to him. Damien sighs, glancing around at the old jukebox in the corner. You know, I used to think I had everything figured out. Good job, stable marriage. Now I'm rebuilding, I guess. Charlotte places a reassuring hand on his arm, a gesture that sends a subtle warmth through him. That's okay. Life seldom follows the script we write for it. He meets her gaze, compelled by the empathy in her eyes. I'm not looking to rush into anything, but you've been easy to talk to, and I appreciate that. She nods, removing her hand to take a sip of water. We can go slow. I'm not pressuring you either. Let's just see where it goes. The waitress brings their meals, and they share a light-hearted moment praising the diner's retro vibe, the tangy milkshakes. For an hour or so, Damien finds himself genuinely laughing, the ache of betrayal muted by the companionship he shares with Charlotte. When they step outside afterward, the evening air is crisp, the sky streaked with oranges and purples. Charlotte dons her motorcycle helmet, glancing at Damien's Challenger. Race you home? She teases, though they both know she'd have the advantage weaving through traffic. He grins, shaking his head. I'd hate to get another lecture from you about safe driving. The memory of their first encounter draws a shared laugh. Before parting, she hesitates. Hey, she says more softly now. This was nice, different than our usual ticket and traffic routine. We should do it again. His chest feels lighter. Yeah, I'd like that. With a nod, she starts her bike, engine growling. He watches her ride off, realizing that this moment simple, unhurried, no hidden agendas has been the most peace he's felt in a long time. Maybe it's the start of something new, or maybe just a fleeting reprieve. Either way, he's grateful. As he drives home, the darkening sky overhead, Damien catches himself humming to an old tune on the radio. There's still a long road of healing ahead baggage, regrets, and the recent heartbreak. But tonight, for the first time, he envisions a future that isn't defined by Serena's betrayal. For once, the horizon seems bright. A light, hesitant rain drips from the eaves of Damien's apartment complex as Serena steps out of a taxi, clutching her purse tight against her body. She stares up at the uninspired facade charcoal siding, identical balcony railings a far cry from the cozy home they once shared. Her heart pounds. This is my last chance, she tells herself. Reaching his door, she inhales and knocks timidly. Seconds crawl by, each drop of rain plinking against metal railings echoing her dread. Eventually, Damien answers, wearing a faded t-shirt and jeans. Surprise flickers across his face, then a guarded chill settles in his eyes. Serena, he says, voice low. What are you doing here? She swallows. I heard from a friend you'd moved out here. I needed to see you. He exhales sharply, stepping aside. Come in, he says, a hint of reluctance in his tone. The living room is sparse, a lone couch, a small TV, half-unpacked boxes. The air feels thick with unresolved tension. They sit, an awkward gulf between them on the couch. Serena's eyes rove the plain walls, the scattered car magazines. Damien, I've missed you, she begins, voice trembling. I know I ruined us, but I still... He cuts her off softly. You made your choices, so did I. His gaze drifts to the divorce paperwork on the coffee table, a silent reminder of their fractured bond. Tears beat at the corners of her eyes. She rummages in her purse for a tissue. I'm desperate, she blurts. I lost everything, my home, my life with you. I regret it, Damien. If there's any chance at all that you'd reconsider. His jaw tenses. Reconsider what? That you cheated with my best friend? That you shattered the trust we built? He stands, crossing to the window where the drizzle streaks glass in silvery lines. Serena, I've tried to move forward. The divorce is nearly final. She stands as well, crossing the small room. We could fix it, she insists, voice rising in desperation. People make mistakes and forgive each other. If you'll just talk to me, give me a second chance. A sudden rustle at the door. It opens to reveal Charlotte, wearing a light jacket over her uniform pants, evidently dropping by after a shift. She stops short, taking in the tense tableau. Serena's tearful expression, Damien's clenched posture. Damien? Charlotte's tone is wary but calm. Serena's eyes widen, guilt and jealousy mingling on her face. She glances from Charlotte to Damien. Her chest constricts at the realization that he might already be moving on, sharing a deeper bond with this confident, collected woman. Damien turns, shoulders tight. Charlotte, I wasn't expecting you this early. She steps forward, gaze flicking to Serena. I can come back if... Serena's frustration boils over. No, stay, she snaps, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. She fixes Charlotte with a desperate glare. You've replaced me, haven't you? Charlotte bristles, but her voice remains measured. We're friends, Serena. Damien deserves happiness after all he's been through. Serena trembles, shifting her gaze to Damien. You're choosing her over me? Damien's expression softens with regret, but remains firm. I'm choosing myself, he says quietly. My own peace. He glances at Charlotte. She's helped me see that I can heal, that I don't have to live in betrayal's shadow. A heavy silence chokes the room. The pitter-patter of rain intensifies outside. Serena's tears reappear, and she bows her head. Then I guess there's nothing left to say. Damien releases a weary sigh. I'm sorry, Serena, but no, we can't undo what happened. He nods toward the door. I think it's best if you go. For a moment, she stands rooted in heartbreak, then stumbles to the threshold. At the door, she looks back, voice quavering. I did love you. I just lost my way. With that, she slips out into the rainy corridor, her footsteps fading. Charlotte moves to Damien's side, resting a gentle hand on his shoulder. He shuts his eyes, the emotional weight pressing on him. Thank you for, he begins, but can't finish. She simply nods, understanding that closure comes at a cost. They let the quiet linger, the rain tapping a melancholy drumbeat on the window. Across town, in the house that once buzzed with gatherings, Helena and Brandon sit at their kitchen table, the overhead light casting stark shadows. A stack of papers bills, a marriage counselor's flyer, Brandon's new job offer lays scattered between them like fragments of their broken trust. Helena flips through the stack, chewing her lip. So you've got a job now? Brandon nods, hands clasped. Yeah, Delgado's warehouse. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work. I'm trying to show I can support us again, that I'm different. She studies his face, the lines of worry etched around his eyes. You do seem changed, she says softly, but I'm still haunted by the way you lied, the way you snuck around with Serena. He rubs his palms over his thighs, desperation in his gaze. I swear I'll never do anything like that again. I've been going to therapy, anger issues, self-worth. I want to fix what I broke. A tense beat passes. Helena slides him the counselor's flyer. We should go together, she says. Couples therapy. 1 session a week. See if we can rebuild or at least figure out if it's worth it. Brandon's eyes glimmer with cautious hope. You'd do that? She exhales, nodding. I'm willing to try, Brandon. But I need honesty. No secrets. No avoiding problems. If you can't handle that, then we're done. He reaches across the table to take her hand, an uncertain gesture of closeness they haven't shared in months. She doesn't flinch, letting him intertwine their fingers. I promise, he breathes. Thank you. They settle into an uneasy calm, the first time in a long while they've faced each other without raw anger flaring. Helena rubs a thumb over his knuckles. Memories of simpler times surface weekends at the beach, late-night movies. She's not sure she can fully forgive, but maybe she can try. Her mind flits briefly to the idea of divorcing him, signing those dreaded papers. But for now, she tucks that notion away. Let's see how therapy goes, she repeats. Then we'll decide if we have a future. His eyes fill with relief. He knows the road ahead is steep, but the fact that Helena hasn't slammed the door on him feels like a second chance he never thought he'd get. They remain like that, hands linked, the overhead light flickering softly, as if the house itself is holding its breath, neither wholly repaired nor irrevocably broken. Late afternoon sun bathes a small neighborhood bistro in warm light. Damien secures a table by the window, heart fluttering with anticipation. Crisp white tablecloth, soft jazz humming from unseen speakers. He's out of his comfort zone, but determined to make this evening special. Moments later, Charlotte arrives, swapping her police uniform for a simple knee-length dress that complements her confident stride. She offers him a smile that lights her face. Nice pick, she says, settling into the chair opposite him. I'm not used to fancy dinner settings. He chuckles nervously. Me either. Thought we deserved a break from roadside diners and late-night coffee stops. They exchange small talk at first, his progress at work, her stories of chaotic traffic shifts. Yet tension underlies their laughter, a sense that both are on the brink of something deeper. After the main course, Damien clears his throat. I wanted to do something. He slides a small box across the table. Charlotte's eyes widen. She carefully opens it, revealing not a ring, but a charming pendant shaped like a tiny steering wheel, studded with a single modest stone. I know it's corny, Damien says hastily, cheeks coloring, but it symbolizes how we started on the road, I guess. You gave me a ticket for speeding, and now here we are. Charlotte laughs, emotion bright in her gaze. I love corny, she admits, gingerly lifting the pendant. It's adorable and so thoughtful. He exhales, relieved. I wanted you to know I'm serious about our connection. I'm not rushing marriage. My divorce was finalized so recently. But I'm ready for a real future with you if you'll have me. She reaches across, taking his hand. Damien, you don't have to prove anything. I've seen the man you are. She glances at the pendant, then back at him. I'm in this for as long as it takes. A rush of relief, happiness, and tenderness courses through him. Leaning over the table, they share a gentle kiss. No drama, just genuine affection. A weight lifts from Damien's heart. This moment feels like the first page of a new chapter, bright and untainted. As the waiter discreetly refills their water, Charlotte jokes about the last traffic stop she made, and Damien laughs with a freedom he thought he'd lost. They finish dessert, step out into the crisp evening air, and walk hand in hand down the softly lit street. For the first time in a long while, Damien feels that life is exactly where it should be. He's neither haunted by the past, nor merely escaping it. Serena nighttime neon from the upscale restaurant glows on Serena's glossy hair as she dines with Wesley. She forces a polite laugh at his pompous anecdotes. He offers her fine wine, subtle compliments, and a promise of luxury if she'll stick around. But she feels hollow. Staring into her half-empty glass, she envisions the roads diverging in her life, the one with Damien she forfeited, and the uncertain path she's on with Wesley, one that might cushion her finances but starve her heart. She senses that if she continues, her future will be a transaction, not love. When Wesley excuses himself, she quietly slides out of the booth, leaving an unfinished meal and a pang of regret behind. Outside, a drizzle kisses her face. She may have lost Damien, but she won't lose herself entirely to a soulless arrangement. She hails a taxi and disappears into the city's darkness, unsure of her next move, but determined not to repeat her old mistakes. Damien and Charlotte. In Damien's modest apartment, boxes are slowly disappearing, replaced by small touches of Charlotte's presence, a framed photo of them laughing at the automotive museum, a pair of her running shoes by the door. They aren't rushing to marry yet, but they're building a shared life step by careful step. Each day, they talk about the future, perhaps a house in a quieter suburb, weekend road trips. Happiness fills the corners that Betrayal once occupied. Brandon and Helena. At the far side of town, Brandon and Helena return from a therapy session, subdued yet hopeful. Their counselor had them list each other's positive qualities and regrets, forcing them to confront both the wounds and what they still cherish. It's a turbulent process, but they're forging a new bond through honesty. Back in their living room, where tension once loomed like a storm cloud, they stand together, not fully healed but resolute. Helena meets Brandon's gaze. "I'm not saying we're perfect," she murmurs, "but maybe we can be better than we were." He nods, tears brimming. "I'll do everything I can to make sure of it." They share a tentative embrace, the fear still present but overshadowed by a mutual desire to rebuild. The final note days turn into weeks. The city's rhythm continues, cars honk, neighbors argue over trivial matters, raindrops patter on windows. Life for these four individuals, Damien, Serena, Brandon, Helena, has irrevocably changed. Each pays the price for mistakes, each finds new reasons to move forward. Serena moves into a small rented studio, distances herself from Wesley, and starts working at a local boutique. Loneliness lingers, but she's free from lies, determined to rediscover who she is without clinging to illusions of wealth or old romance. Damien and Charlotte grow closer, planning short weekend getaways, meeting each other's families. Their trust blossoms in the light of shared honesty, not overshadowed by hidden betrayal. Brandon and Helena keep attending counseling, forging a deeper understanding. Some nights bring old anger, but they confront it side by side. Their marriage, once teetering, edges toward stability, proof that not all broken bonds must remain shattered. In the end, the future remains open. The storm has passed, leaving scars but also clearing the skies for new beginnings. Each character steps onto their chosen path, carrying both regret and hope. Mistakes weigh heavily, but the resolve to atone, to rebuild, or to find peace burns brightly. As the city lights glow in the gathering dusk, their stories full of pain, resilience, and the quest for forgiveness stand as reminders that from destruction one can still forge a better tomorrow.